Hello, and thank you for tuning in. I want you to understand that your viewership is like second breath to me. Thank you. This is for those who want and who can do more. You have options in the description below. May I just suggest the membership program? Why? Because it's the easiest way and the most financially sound way to support the channel without thinking so hard. But regardless, understand that by you watching from start to finish, interacting with the video pushes my algorithm forward, and that also helps me out. So that being said, let's get started. Very quickly, let me just acknowledge all the positive vibes that I received from you guys from last week's post that I made in regards to the health of my daughter. She is much better today, but it was a very difficult weekend. If you stick around to the end of the video, I'll give you an update and more details of what happened. But in this case, Lori Vallow obviously was found guilty. Let's look into a few things that I've put up together because, as you know, I have a point of view. Now, for those who don't know me, I'm Alistair Nzekio, and again, this is just my point of view. Let's get started. So we all know she was found guilty, but I started this saga in regards to the Vallow Daybell. I started the saga as her calling her a narcissist, and then we progressed through the saga where now I'm going to say allegedly she is a psycho. Let's look at her reaction of the verdict and then just follow my operating flow until my final thought. Let's go.
Only by juror numbers of each of the jurors if this is their true and correct verdict individually.
Juror number 4, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 5, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 6, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 8, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 9, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 10, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 11, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 12, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 13, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 14, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 15, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 16, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. The court does find it's a unanimous verdict in this case, so I will direct the clerk to record the verdict into the record of this case.
So, as you saw, there was almost no reaction. But because I'm a nosy man, I want you to look at this. I'm going to replay in the editing. Right as the verdict is about to be read, she is preoccupied to look at what her attorney is writing. That's a sign that she is present. It's a sign that there's no disconnection from the situation. When the jurors are starting to ratify their judgment, she reclines back and, she gets herself comfortable. She goes like this. She gets herself comfortable to accept her fate. Now, this particular moment tells me that she already accepted her fate, meaning she walked in that room knowing exactly that this will be a guilty verdict. So there's no surprise at all. So she expected to be found guilty. So just reclined and took the punch, so to speak. The thing that's not shocking, the thing that is quite shocking to me is the consistency of the emotional response that she's having, which is nothing. She is completely void of empathy. Not empathy for us, the viewers, us, the public, or even the jury who is deciding her fate. Empathy for her actions. Because you see, there is... You might have a moment, let's just say if you're in a situation where you're defiant, there may be a moment where you're like, F this, I don't care, I don't care, right? That is a rise of a stress response. So you're reacting to how you might feel. Your body cannot sustain that for long term. At some point, there will be a ebb. During the ebb, a lot of the times, if you have good chemistry up here, you absorb all of that and then you have a reaction. This trial has gone pretty quickly, to be very quite honest. So maybe she was in a flow. But now this is pretty cooled off. There's nothing going on. This is the ebb. Even in the ebb, she is not absorbing. There is no reuptake, meaning there is no stress response to begin with. That is, in my opinion, again, allegedly, and this is my point of view, that's a sign that there was never a stress response to begin with. That's a sign that what we saw, and I think I mentioned to you during the interrogation that she was having, those small little bits of nervousness that she was having, it was not in relation at all to even the case. It was in relation to her self-preservation. But even then, that didn't last long. That wasn't even consistent. It's almost as if there's a complete disruption. Her amygdala is not working properly, and the amygdala is the stuff in your head and your brain that is responsible for your empathy. This is a psychopath. Guys, you're witnesses. You're witnessing a psychopath, a psycho. And these are not strangers, these are her kids. That's the first thought. Let's go to the next segment, but remember that, because I'm going to come back to this point. What is next for her? What can we expect her to experience? Let's listen to what this guy, which apparently he used to be a federal inmate. So let's hear what he has to say. And he's talking from what I would assume experience.
In the system, there's three kinds of hated people: rats, people that are there for child pornography, and people that kill kids. Look what happened to Whitey Bulger. How long was he there when they stuck a screwdriver in his ear? Jared Fogle, the subway guy. Matter of fact, two of my clients beat him up in Sheridan when he was there. Chris Watts, they had to move him out of state from Colorado. You know, she's going to have a rough ride of it. She's probably not going to get a lot of sleep because they're going to be running her through a series of hearings and court appearances. She's going to have to meet with her lawyer. They may be transporting her a lot also. And they get you up at 4 o'clock in the morning because they've got to check you out and put you in a metal detector and all this, take you over to the courthouse, and then she's going to be sitting in a holding cell. Maybe she'll only get 2 or 3 showers a week. I mean, it's possible. And I don't know. They may move her from jail to jail just to protect her. It really depends on who they have a contract with.
Can I ask you, I only have about 30 seconds left, but I am very, very curious about where she'll ultimately end up. This was trial number 1 in Idaho, but she's got 2 in Maricopa County, Arizona. So does she go through the process in Maricopa and then head right back to Idaho for a life sentence? And then what happens with the sentences down in Arizona?
Well, they can run it what's called concurrent. It's kind of like in the feds. If you have state time pending and you're serving a federal sentence, the state gets their conviction, but they don't have to pay for the cost of incarceration. And that's probably will end up happening between Arizona and Idaho. They'll just give her a concurrent sentence because she's got a life sentence. She really, in this picture, she looks tore up. That's the term they use in jail. Looks like an entirely different person. And things are just going to get rough for her. They're going to get much worse. And life as she knows it is over, period.
So you heard it. She is going to have a very rough time, and I don't think she even knows what's coming for her, and I suspect because her amygdala is messed up, what she's going to feel is empathy for her own self. So her self-preservation is still quite there-ish, and so we are going to see moving forward her body language and demeanor. I'm probably not going to cover it, but I'm telling you, if you ever follow her story, is that then we're really going to see emotional reaction, because she's going to be sleep deprived. Her health is going to decline. She's going to be threatened. We're really going to see a different facade of Lori Daybell Vallow. And quite frankly, the stuff that happened with Chris Watts and the situation with the subway guy, no. She's going to be assaulted. They're going to find a way to get to her. 100%. Especially with the nature of how she tortured those kids. No, I wouldn't be surprised if she is found, unalived, if she's found deleted. I love some of the words we use to evade the YouTube censors. Deleted. Click. So funny. Yeah, so that's really what's next for her. But let's go back to what I talked about in the previous segment.
Verdict. Let's start there. We're going to put up some pictures of Lori Vallow. She was impassive, seemed disinterested. I didn't even detect that she was breathing heavily, like there was any stress. She seemed bored. It was an unbelievable reaction with this on the line.
John, you're absolutely right, and it is pretty consistent with what we have seen from Lori Vallow, not only throughout this trial, but throughout our coverage of this entire saga since 2019, how Lori Vallow has acted with the smirk on her face or the half smile and giggling time to time with her lawyers. When she stood up for the verdict, she crossed her arms or she held her hands together, and it was almost like she knew what was coming. When she sat back down after the jury found her guilty on all counts against her, she really just leaned back and stared at the jury or the judge. And when she was taken away by the bailiff to be transferred back to Fremont County in eastern Idaho, was a very, slow, comfortable, and calm walk. And that's what we saw from Lori Vallow during the verdict.
Justin, there is some news that's breaking on what happens to Lori Vallow now, and it comes out of Maricopa County. Can you fill us in?
Now, this is huge news if you've been following this entire case that really stems from Chandler, Arizona. The Maricopa County Attorney's Office says that Lori Vallow, at some point after she is transferred to the Idaho Department of Corrections after sentencing, she will be extradited to Maricopa County and be prosecuted for conspiracy to commit murder in the death of her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. This is a big deal because Charles Vallow, her ex, really sounded the alarm to police, specifically to Gilbert Police back in January of 2019. He said that Lori Vallow threatened to murder him with her powers and that she was really into this end of the world talk and felt she was a goddess. He was the first one to really say something, and now his family members have been waiting for justice for a long time. So we'll see how this trial looks like. We've really got a preview in this trial with all the Chandler police detectives testifying.
Justin, quickly, she dodged the death penalty up in Idaho because of procedural problems leading up to the case. Is that going to be the case in Maricopa County, or could she face the death penalty here?
That is a good question. We still have a lot of time on the table because the extradition process could take several weeks to several months. I'm told this is one count of conspiracy to commit murder, so definitely we will be checking the files to see if prosecutors file a notice of intent to seek the death penalty. But yeah, this was just a huge news dump of a day. You have the verdict with all guilty counts, and then Maricopa County saying, hey, you're coming here, Lori. You're coming back to Arizona at some point.
Justin, this was one of the weirdest defense efforts I've ever seen in a high-stakes case. The defense basically punted at the end. They put on no defense. They called no witnesses. They didn't call Lori. They didn't offer up much of an explanation. It seemed incredibly weak.
Yeah, it definitely did. What defense did they really have? I know that if Lori Vallow did actually choose to testify, there would be some expert witnesses called to the stand. But really, I mean, you saw it. They right away pinned the blame on Chad Daybell, her alleged co-conspirator and husband. And this really gives us a preview of the Chad Daybell trial that could come in June of 2024. saying Lori Vallow was a victim and that she basically followed Chad Daybell's teachings and he's the one to blame. I don't think anyone was surprised about that. And I know that she wasn't happy yesterday after the lunch break before the state's rebuttal. She did not seem happy because basically they painted her as this woman who fell for some stupid books and teachings and allowed her kids to be murdered. That was the narrative given to the jury.
So she didn't like that defense. Justin, this whole case centers around kind of end of days beliefs, and she got caught up in this with this guy. But I'm wondering now that she's been convicted, does she turn on Chad Daybell at his trial? And is that her exit strategy to try to lessen her sentence or whatever it may be?
That is a good question, and we have yet to see if that happens, but I'll tell you from my sources, she still actually very deeply cares about Chad Daybell. They have not spoken in a long time. So, yeah, we will see if that happens, if somehow she is brought in as a witness in the Chad Daybell trial. But here's one thing to note is that the defense tried to say, well, why would she leave this very, prominent, well-to-do businessman in Charles Vallow for Chad Daybell, who was making $30,000 a year and writing these books about the end of times, and he had, filed for bankruptcy. Why would she trade in Charles Vallow for Chad Daybell? But here's what the prosecution said. This is all about money, power, and sex. It boils down to an affair, and it boils down to Lori Vallow trying to start this new life without the obstacles in her way, her kids and Chad's previous wife, Tammy Daybell. These are innocent victims that we have to remind people the focus is on J.J. Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and Tammy Daybell. You have to say their names. They did not do one thing to deserve what happened to them and the way that these children's bodies were found. And Tammy Daybell, just a kind librarian who died in her sleep because of asphyxiation that we are now have just learned throughout this trial. And Charles Vallow, who was shot and killed by Lori Vallow's late brother, Alex Cox, and we know that they took 45 minutes to call 911 while she drove off to Burger King. She now has to face that case here in Arizona at some point. That's what it all stems back to, is the case in Arizona.
Yeah, and the case is littered with these kinds of stories. Lori Vallow searching the internet for wedding dresses the day of Tammy Daybell's funeral. I mean, it doesn't get any colder than that. It's just incredible stuff.
You have to visualize the image after she, shopped for wedding rings, a wedding dress, swimming suits for this honeymoon in Kauai, and just weeks after Tammy Daybell died, they were dancing on the beach, getting married, and her kids were buried in the ground for 4 months already, and she was found poolside, nonchalant, served papers by Idaho to produce her kids back in January of 2020, and there was no concern or remorse at all. This had to be what stood out to the jury in this case.
Justin, let's not forget that early on, she wasn't even found competent to stand trial. That took a while. That's why this has taken so long. Is this woman crazy?
I'm not going to say that. She was found competent. It took about a year of bringing her back to restoring her mental health or her competency. She was competent to face her charges, and she is now a convicted felon, guilty of murder. That's what I know.
What's next? We've got about 30 seconds.
3 months, and we have a sentencing in Fremont County. We will see what that sentence is, and then we await her trial in Arizona at some point.
Okay.
So let's dissect this third segment in multiple parts.
I most of the time was looking at Lori Vallow to see how she reacted to evidence, or how she reacted to pictures, or how she reacted to the video. So I looked at her probably 95% of the time just to see how she reacted to the information that was presented, because I was shocked to just hear some of the things, the phone calls, and see the texts. I just, and there was so much to it that there's so much evidence to piece together that it was just so bizarre. I never knew that it was so complex. For the most part, she avoided eye contact. And I looked at her during some critical times where I felt like maybe I should have seen some emotion on her face, but I I didn't see anything. It just felt like she didn't accept that, you know, these charges were against her, or maybe she still felt like that she was in some higher power, that these charges, you know, didn't apply to her. I don't know, but she just seemed very unemotional for most of the trial.
So, as I told you, as I mentioned to you earlier, that the fact that there was no emotional response at all to the entire saga is very indicative of her psychopathy. Because even if you take a criminal that we all know, Darrell Brooks, there were moments where his consistency broke. He was upset. He was angry. There was a rainbow of emotions. Darrell Brooks is an alleged narcissist. And this is where the difference between psychopath and narcissist occur. Psychopaths and sociopaths. So sociopaths are made psychopaths. Psychopaths are born. So because we don't understand and we don't know the childhood and the history of Lori Vallow, so we can't call her a sociopath. We don't know what her childhood was like. So we're going to say she's an alleged psychopath. All psychopaths are narcissistic because it's all about them. That is a given. But not all narcissists are psychopaths. The big difference here between someone like Darrell Brooks and Lori Vallow is that Darrell experienced emotions of shame. His deflections were a result of him being ashamed of facing the truth. Because there are a lot of inconsistencies in his emotional pattern. The big difference here with Lori is that she is extremely consistent. She's very consistent into where her mind state is at. She doesn't fluctuate. It's very clear. She's very nonchalant. She is extremely no empathy at all. And the fact that, again, as I told you on the first segment, that she just reclines back and just accepts her faith. No, it's because in her mind, she knows she's not going to get a not guilty verdict. She just doesn't care. Not because she doesn't care, because she can't care. She doesn't have the chemistry to allow her to care. So to us, we see someone that is completely nonchalant, but to her, it's as normal as just waking up in the morning. She's just going to court, and I'm just going to hear what they're going to say. I know I'm going to be guilty, but whatever. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? She doesn't even have the emotion of whatever. She is just empty. Empty. In a weird, sick way, it's almost as if she won. In a weird, sick way, because put her in jail or you don't, she's the same. Death penalty or not, she's the same. So her situation, her verdict is a lot more for us than it is for her, because she doesn't really care. Now, I think it's extremely important that Charles gets the justice that he deserves. And the reason why is because Charles is the one who really rang the doorbell. He's like, hello. She says she's a goddess. She says she's going to kill me. And nobody really took it seriously. And it's because there's this idea of like, oh, but you know, it's just a religious banter. It's just religious banter. It's not really going to go that way. There is a misconception that just because you threaten someone for the name of religion, like, I'm going to smite you in the name of Jesus Christ, right? That it's laughter. And it's like, you know, taken not seriously. And I understand that, you know, as law enforcement, they're strapped for resources, right? You don't want to react to everything that says, you know, they told me I've smite me and whatever. But I think it's important that when you look at the body of work of someone who makes such statements, you have to take it seriously. And I do feel very bad that the authorities did not take his multiple requests for help seriously, on the simple fact that while she's just a nice little lady, a nice little lady who just, you know, religious and thinks she's a goddess, and it's okay, Mr. Charles, go back home. Everything will be fine. Don't worry. She's not going to smite you. Nothing will happen. Right? That's really unfortunate. So I think it's very cool that Charles is going to get the justice that he deserves. Now, when it comes to her defense, we've all seen it. There was no defense at all. It was pretty much like, she's just a religious lady. She's just like, oh my God, I was just praying and I'm the goddess, right? So there were no really defense. And let me tell you something, and I don't know, how much experience you have with lawyers, but, you talk with your lawyers. Like, you talk with your lawyers. Lawyers are not mind readers. They sit down with you like me and you, and they say, okay, so you're being charged for murder. What did you do? It's confidential. The reason why it's confidential is it gives you, the murderer, the openness to say, yeah, I killed them. Make sure I don't get jail time. Absolutely. So the fact that there was no defense at all, to me, tells me two things. That she either came clean, yeah, I killed them, or she spinned the same story. Like, well, I want to tell you, but I can't tell you. Otherwise, you'll be in danger. Remember the same story she told her sister and everybody else, that she knows the truth, but she can't say the truth because she says the truth and you're going to be in trouble or your life is in danger. She must have spinned the same story to the defense. And I think that's highly likely that she did. I don't think she confessed about her crime to the defense. I think she said the same stupid story that if I tell you, you're going to be in danger. The defense didn't have any crumbs to go about. That's why they come up with something so silly as like, she's just not mentally okay. Or she's just, a little girl, a little woman. Oh my God, right? So the defense had to think about something that made sense. Well, let's put the blame on Chad. And I think, and I told you in this saga, part 2 or 3, wake up. My computer went to sleep. Part 3, that she's the ringleader. And so the defense pinning the situation on Chad is because they have no other avenue. The defense not bringing anybody forward is because they have no avenue. They have no information. They have nobody to bring forward. Lori won't even come forward because she says no. The defense can only do as much as you allow them to do. Do you understand? So that's why it was a lousy defense. She won't even open her mouth to her lawyer. That is the most sensical explanation as to why the defense had nothing. The defense was so poor. That makes the most sense, considering her body of work. And this is my point of view, right? Mm-hmm. Chad Daybell situation is coming up next. And as you heard, she has a court case in Arizona that she has to deal with in relation to the conspiracy, Charles, etc., and Tammy Daybell. And so they are speculating, the two reporters that we just saw, that she'll turn on Chad in order not to face the death penalty. Because the death penalty may not have been on the menu for this case that we saw, but it could be on the menu for the other cases. And here is my opinion on that. She will rat on Chad. And I can tell you right now, here's my alleged reason why. Is because her condition makes her empathetic only to herself. And one thing we know for sure, she doesn't want to die. She wants to have freedom. She wants to have fun. She wants to feel serotonin at all times. She wants to be plunged and drenched in oxytocin. And the way to do that is to have fun all the time. And so she's going to turn on Chad because there's nothing worse to a psycho than death, than the end. That's one thing they fear. Yeah, that's one thing they're empathetic about is their own death. So, yeah, she'll turn on Chad. I just have to make a quick PSA. I do so many PSAs. Like, who the hell are you, Alistair? I'm just a regular guy with an opinion. 30K a year, listen to me, it's not nothing, right? It's definitely not something you can survive on depending on what city you live in. Like New York City, 30K a year, I don't know. But it's not nothing. 30K a year is quite substantial. And to me, it tells me you are working. That means you're not sleeping all day. No, you're doing something. So anybody who makes 30K a year, just understand that, to my eyes, you're doing something. Yeah. So the prosecution here in the case that we saw was all about money, power, and sex. So absolutely. And this is where I tell you, or I've told you, that no, she was a well taken care of housewife who probably had at some point questions about why she feels nothing about anything. And she is dealing with an autistic kid and a teenager. Please, they are exhausting. Teenagers. You were a teenager, I was a teenager, and we were hell. So she's dealing with two versions of hell on earth, allegedly. And a husband who's too busy working to sustain this lifestyle of like, I got a wife at home, she got to take care of the kids. It's not easy. Please, do you know how much it costs? Do you know how much it costs? The average operating cost of a single adult, do you know how much it is? It's about $60,000 per year. That's how much goes in the garbage. You don't even see it. That's how much it costs to operate a single human being on average. It's quite a lot of money. So Charles had to work to sustain a grown woman staying home taking care of two kids. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Lori is like, oh my God, look at all this beauty. You know, they're narcissistic. All go to waste to this person, JJ, and to her, the teenager, right? She wants to feel alive. She wants to feel good. She wants to be drenched in these chemicals of feeling good. Serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine, adrenaline. She wants to feel good. But she can't because she has to be a mom and take care of two kids with issues. The teenager, it doesn't have issue, but the teenagers are a condition, my dears. If you were a nice teenager, then you are the exception. And that's what I got to say. So yeah, there were obstacles. Lori had obstacles. And so she had an affair with this man. It didn't matter about a $30,000 per year. Matter of fact, she didn't care. The reason why she didn't care about it because she was going to get her money either way. Life insurance from Charles and the money from her kids. Yeah. She went to Hawaii on a honeymoon, dancing while her kids were buried, cheering. She was celebrating her new life, freedom. No husband, no special ed kid, no bratty teenager, just me and my hair. Just looking so beautiful, I can't wait. Don't be offended, please, we're all grown-ups, all right? So yeah, she was just having a good old time. She was expecting and looking forward to this new chapter of her life with all the money in the world. All she can do is dance, have sex, and be revered as a goddess. I gotta tell you, if you offer that to me, it's a nice deal. What? If I offer you sex all the time, you don't have to worry about STDs or pregnancy. So sex that you want, right? So I offer you sex, I offer you money, I offer you vacation, I offer you, I don't know, exercise, I offer you a good time. Aren't you going to take it? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, but it's not realistic. But in her mind, she's in her mind, that's what it is. No, she's going to be hit by the reality stick. Reality is the ultimate equalizer. You may think you can fly, and then you jump, and then you fall, and then you die. That rhymed. Not intentional. Okay. This was an interesting saga. I followed this story because I think I mentioned to you in part 1 that I have a family member, and I'm not going to tell you her story. She is doing well. She is doing well, and she's doing well. I have a family member where I've experienced and we've lived a situation like this. Everybody's alive. Nobody was harmed. But it wouldn't be far from reality of that happening. And so I took interest to it because I wanted to see how the country reacts to it. Because I think I've told you this, right? This is very common. This is very, 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 very common. The only uncommon thing is the murder. But that whole situation of that, the cult aspect of it is extremely common, very common. And it destroys families. It breaks them apart because reality is no longer on the same page. And it's no longer even possible to negotiate. and compromise because the spectrum is so big. The chasm is enormous. You can't even jump. You can't even take an airplane and jet over it. You can't even grapple over it. It's just too big. That's what he said. What? Yeah, that's what he said. It's just too big. Yeah. I'll grow up. Anyway, yeah, I'm glad this is coming to an end. So I named this series Vallow Daybell because I'm going to follow Chad in the background. I'm really curious to see how Lori reacts to it. I'm curious to see. So I'm still following the story from Chad's point of view. Look, I'm done with this. Let's go to my Let's Talk. Hi. Okay, first and foremost, let me just address you all for all the positivity and the vibes in regards to Olympia. Thank you a ton. You know, last weekend was very, 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 very difficult. I say that a lot. Yes, I say that a lot. My life is difficult. I don't have an easy life. My life is difficult. And Olympia developed secondary infections. Two. So she had to be on antibiotics. 2 separate antibiotics. And this is how severely allergic she is to milk. It's not a joke. It's a real thing. So when we went to the hospital on Friday, she ended up staying there. Yeah, she ended up staying there. Oh my God, I'm exhausted just thinking about it. Like she ended up staying there, and we left with antibiotics and just to monitor it because it was all messed up down there. Think about that. Think about this. If I eat cheese, I wipe my face, I give her a kiss, she gets a rash on her cheek. Imagine what it happens if she ingests milk. What does that do to her digestive tract? Imagine. Inflammation through the roof. So yeah, she was under antibiotics, 2 different antibiotics. She developed 2 secondary infections. It was a big deal. They had to keep her in the hospital because they were like, oh, whoa, this is really serious. You can't go home. No, just in case we need to interfere. Yeah, my poor baby. And so, of course, on that Friday, I couldn't go see the daycare because I think the video I posted last week, you know, it was pre-recorded throughout multiple days. I had to wear the same sweater, t-shirt, whatever, same shirt to make it believe like it was unison. No, it wasn't pre-recorded. So I was going through a lot of emotion and stuff, and I was very heated. And, you know, I needed to calm myself down. And the video was released on Friday, and then I made a post saying things got worse. It's because I was in the hospital and it got really worse. Okay, I was not even in a mental space to deal with anybody, really. And so we ended up not going to talk to the daycare on that Friday because we were at the hospital. But on Monday, honey, my dearest, on Monday, I went to have a good talk. So I was very frazzled during the video I posted because you know, I show a lot of myself, and I'm much better at keeping things controlled as much as I can. But you do see how I am in real life. I look like I'm all over the place, but in my mind, I'm very organized, and I know that I cannot deliver a message in that state. So, you know, because I was in front of friends, and I just showed you a little bit what's in my head, but I had to put my thoughts together and then go talk to this person, to the daycare, because I need to deliver a message. You can't get anything done if you go in there screaming and shouting and pouting. No, the message is lost. So I told my brain cells, come on, girls. Did I just call them girls? No. My pronoun is he. But okay, come on, girls. Get it together. So I told my little girls, rub a little harder. Get yourself together. And go have a conversation. So she stabilized. Olympia stabilized on Sunday night. Oh yes. And so on Monday, I went over and I had a conversation with the top lady. Long story short, the lady who administered the milk 2 times, by the way, the milk product, same mistake, 2 different days, 2 different times. She was there. And, when I sat down and I spoke to the head daycare person, the head person of the daycare, I said, look, listen, here's the data that I've collected, because I collect data. I track everything. I track everything. Yeah, I'm hard to get. I track everything. I went with all the data that I have. And I also have the company's list of protocols, right? And I brought that on purpose because I wanted them to understand that I am not afraid to take it to the legal level. I am not afraid of that. But I wasn't prepared to do that yet. And the reason why is because as Olympia stabilized, it definitely calmed me down significantly. And then I was saying to myself, I was like, okay, well, we can either go back on the market and look for a daycare. Too much work. Number two, if you look at the mistake, the daycare has been pretty good, except for the fact that one person made a mistake 2 times, right? So I can separate that person from the daycare, okay? So 3, I'm going to go in there and negotiate. I know how to negotiate. So I'm going to go there and negotiate. So I took my black self. I don't know why I said that. Don't read too much into it. Just pay attention. I took myself and I went to the daycare and I brought all the data that I needed to bring. And, lo and behold, the lady who administered the milk 2 times happened to be there. And I was like, perfect. Have a seat. Actually, the hot lady was like, okay, she's here. Come on. She comes over. Oh my God, how is she doing? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm sitting there like, she's stabilized now. She developed 2 secondary infections. She was admitted to the hospital. She just got out yesterday. So, yeah. She was not doing well because I said that, not like that. I said it in a very polite way, because you gave her milk. But we have a sheet, a piece of paper signed by her parents per your protocol, per your situation, that dictates her allergies. And we provided the food to give to her during the sessions that you have so our daughter can participate. But you give the food that we give you. Why didn't you give her the food that we provided for you? Oh, no, it's not that, can you believe that's the answer she gave me? Okay, I'm all ears, right? I'm there and I'm listening. According to her, she said to me that the cheese quesadilla she gave didn't have any cheese. And I said, but your report says cheese quesadilla. You telling me one thing, but your written report says cheese quesadilla. And you write in your report that she ate it. I don't understand. You want me to, you expect me to believe you that after the report says you gave cheese, that I'm supposed to take your word that it wasn't cheese. Is that what you want me to believe? They all blinked like 2 idiots sitting there staring at me. And I said, look, it doesn't even matter what you say. I said that. Because the written report is a written report. If you didn't give cheese, you should have made a note about that. But there's no note. So I'm not going to take what you tell me at face value because it's not real. It's not written. Per your protocol, it's not written. I don't have that in written anywhere. You gave cheese to my girl. Point blank period. You did it more than once. Right? So it shut her up. But I didn't want to doubt on her because my goal there was I'm negotiating the terms of our contract. And I tell you guys, I tell you all the time, a relationship is a give and take. You have to take. You give, but you have to take. Because if you don't take and you only give, bad contract. You have to take. And if the contract is breached, you renegotiate. It doesn't matter what it is. You renegotiate. So I looked at the lady and I said, okay, look. She's stabilized, but I got to talk to you about something. This was obviously unacceptable. And, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think that service of like that little lunch situation, you're obviously not giving it to me because we had to provide the food that you're not even giving the food. Therefore, I think I need a new rate. I need a special custom rate. And I sat there and I wait. She's like, well, we can't do that. I was like, I understand you can't because it's above your pay grade. So I'm going to email you. It is above her pay grade because she's not corporate. I'm going to email you the data that I have, all the information that I have. And I will also email you a formal request from me. It's a proposal. Please, it's a proposal. Formal. You have to make it formal, because if you move on to legal action, you have to prove these steps. So I'm going to forward you a formal proposal. I want you to forward that to corporate, because this is above you. Forward that to corporate. And I want an answer as soon as possible. Okay? So I send it to her on my phone, and then she forwarded it to corporate. Do you know why I know? Because we got a new rate. How much? 30% less. And I'll tell you why. And I have experience dealing with corporate. Please, I deal with HR for a living. When you have a protocol on paper, and then you have a client who follows the protocol, but you as a company don't follow the protocol, that's a huge liability. Insurance won't even cover you. Do you understand? Do you understand the exposure? And this is a daycare situation. This is a situation where you deal with kids. The liability is humongous. That proposal went up to Cheney Corporate, probably landed on the desk of the lawyer. Their legal team looked at it, double checked, and said, "Oh, that's all he's asking, just 30% off. Give it to her." I got that in less than 24 hours. I got their approval. So that's the update so far. And yeah. And by the way, Olympia is still going to participate in that event, and they're going to give the food that we give. But this cannot happen again, because if it happens again, I'm going all the way now to court. I don't really care at this point. But I was very, calm and collected, and that's what I did. Yeah. Spent time in the hospital, crying my eyes out. Crying my eyes out. I really was, and I am so afraid to lose Olympia. And you don't know this story. I haven't told you, and I've told this to a lot of people in my circle. We've had a miscarriage. We miscarried on the first try. The first try of surrogacy was a miscarriage. Devastating, completely devastating. Do you understand? And I don't think we're really quite over it. Matter of fact, she had issues, and that was a lot of PTSD. PTSD, all the crying, PTSD. I went through postpartum. Chris didn't. I went through postpartum. Men go through it too, boys. Men go through it too. Like, when you actively partake into the raising of your child, you are at risk of going through postpartum too, males. And I went through it. Anyway, what time is it? It's 12. So, so this week, by the way, the live is going to be on Thursday, because this Friday, I have to get my life, this weekend, I have to put the pieces of my life together. Do you want to know why? Because when Olympia was sick, I listened to my situation, and I'll do it again, and I do it every time someone I love is in situation. Life ends for me. Not like that. Like, everything is canceled. We deal with the problem right away. I don't multitask when someone I know and love is in trouble. I can't. I don't have the mental capacity to multitask like that. Everything is on pause and canceled. And then I come back, scorched earth. Everything can burn. Everything burns. Usually something burns. And I come back and I pick up the pieces together, and I'm trying to make do with the consequences that I pay. I do pay consequences when I act like that, but I don't know how else to be. Right. So Olympia was sick. The whole world ended for me until she was better. And so now I have to fix the pieces of the broken mirror, because something broke. I lost the contract. I didn't show up to a meeting. Please, you think I cared at the time? But now that everything has come down, I care. Oh, crap. So I have to appease people because I got bills to pay. So see you on Thursday. See you on Thursday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday is I need to get my life together. So I see you on Thursday night for the live. Spending the weekend to fix the pieces of my life. And that's it. Thank you for watching. I say all the time that I'm the luckiest man in the world. And I'll tell you why I'm the luckiest. 4 reasons. I don't know if it's 4, but we'll see. Maybe it's 5. First one, I'm very lucky to be alive. You don't understand. Maybe you never will. Lady Luck fell on my lap. And she was like, ew. Yeah, more than once. Maybe if it were Mr. Luck, different story. Come on, grow up. 2, I met the spouse that I met. I have a mental situation. I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 15 years old. That was 1,000 years ago. The science has changed and different. I've always been like this and more. My impulsiveness has always been like that. My euphoric moment has always been like that. Some people even argue maybe I'm bipolar. I don't know. All I know is that I think a certain way, I feel a certain way, and I've always had to adapt and adjust my life based on how I feel. I never went on the medication I did when I was 15. My mom didn't like it. She took me off, and so here I am. I am different up here, and it's not for, and everybody can take that. And so I am lucky that I found a spouse who is unbothered by nothing at all. Very good time. He's an absolutely good time. He is unbothered, unflinching. Everything is so positive to him. I've never seen him depressed. I've never seen him flustered. Never. If anything, he laughs at my antics, which makes me laugh. He calms me down. Very lucky for that. Number 3, right? I have a kid. Do you know, like, back in my days, that was not possible. I have a kid. How lucky am I? I don't know what number that is. Who cares? And the next luck that I have is to have the in-laws that I have, because they're just like my spouse. They're just like, whatever, happy-go-lucky, smart people, beautiful people, unbothered by nothing. Nothing bothers them. And then, of course, lucky for you, anyone who watched it till the end, do you know how lucky I am to have you? Because my situation unravels the further the show goes. Unravels. You never made me feel a certain kind of way. You never made me feel bad. You never made me feel pressured. I'm lucky. I'm very, very lucky. One another reason why I'm very lucky to have you, and this is something that I've always heard always happened to me. You're too loud. You're obnoxious. People never like me because I'm impulsive. I blur things out. I'm an introvert, but you might not think it, but I'm not shy. I'm not shy. And I've been. It's. Let's just say that even in my professional career, even today, I still don't get contracts because of how I am. And it's so painful that just being me makes it very difficult to navigate. Or maybe you can relate. Yeah. I always feel a level of stress because, I need to be someone else when I'm in front of, in real life. I need to. Not that I need to, not have to. I need to be someone else. Because otherwise, I can't pay the bills. I'm going to go that drastic. Absolutely. I can't pay the bills. 100%. Because who I am is too much. Oh boy. Anyway. And that's it. I've become very good at controlling my tears, haven't I? Yeah. I don't know what that is. I think that's how, by the way, I talked about that with a therapist. That's a sign that it's working. Would I be a murderer? I am Vallow Daybell Jr. No, I don't think so. Why? I'm too skittish. What? A gun? What else? A knife. Ah! I'm too skittish. I have a security system here. When I hear a noise on the roof, it's probably a squirrel. I go, who's there? Like it's no, I don't think I have in me to be a murderer. I don't think I have in me to be in jail. Can you imagine me in jail? Wait, where are you going, officer? You closing the gate? No, I can't. I wouldn't survive. No way. I think I'll faint first. No, I'm designed to be in my corner. Dancing, laughing, drinking, and having a good time. I'm not designed to be... First of all, think about that. Like, you're trying to kill someone, right? You go, okay, today I'm going to kill you. Allegedly. You got to get up, prepare, buy the rope, buy the bleach, go to the store, spend some gas, think of a plan. Come on, who has time for that? And then be interrupted with like, you know, you get a phone call. Hey, Alistair, what you doing? Nothing. Like, it's just too much work. That's why I'm like, you murderers, you have all this time on your hand. What is wrong with you? You have nothing else to do. Too much work to be a criminal. Too much work. Put the work towards something else. That's why I couldn't be a criminal. I'd be like, I'll quit before I even start. I'd be like, what I gotta do? A plan? A poverty flow for what? Murdering someone? I can't do it. Okay, goodbye. It's 23 minutes. I talk too much. I got stuff to do. I love you so much. Goodbye. I see you on Thursday. Thursday for the life. Bye.